Hi everyone, back again with another 3 and 30. This time, you're hearing me narrate because, yeah, I totally forgot to turn on the microphone. So today is H for hinged pieces, and I will be doing an envelope piece with a little avocado dyed doily on the outside, which will open up, and then I will do a seam down the middle, and it'll be open outwards, I should say, so that you can stuff it full of ephemera, and it will be a page in the journal. So that's the plan for the first item. I'm going to leave a little bit of a seam so that it folds easily. And then the next project is going to be the same concept, but using some craft paper bags. So I'll have the openings on the outside, and then on the inside it'll be a journaling page. But then you can still stuff stuff in the top. And open it up, and I'll decorate the inside once I figure out what journal I'll put it in. I'm going to use the doily to decorate the outside, and then we're going to do an over the page topper. So I have some little cut file folder and some vintage ribbon. I'm going to use that vintage ribbon as the hinge on the top, and I have some plans to decorate that on the outsides. So let's get started. So first I'm going to measure out approximately how much ribbon I need for the top hinge. Trim that. And it's a little bit wonky, but that's okay. So go ahead and start gluing that. I'm going to use a little bit of Fabri-Tac. This particular ribbon is very starchy and very vintage. So I've found that with the vintage ribbons and trims, they don't really take the art glitter glue very well. Or they do, they just soak it up because they're so dry and old. So that was my reasoning behind using the Fabri-Tac. So go ahead and put that on the one side, trying to line it up so that there's a bit of a space for the hinge. And of course, the ribbon is a little bit porous, so there's glue left over on my mat. Go ahead and wipe that off with a little trusty wet wipe. And now I'm gluing the opposite side. Trying to spread the glue out a little bit so that it's more of a less goopy and more spread out. Still got a little bit of goop. So just using the paper to kind of get some of that glue off. And the wet wipe to clean it up. So here you can see I left a little bit of the lighter gingham as the hinge. It's about 1/8 of an inch. And that will set over the top of a page. And dry off the mat a little bit with a dry wet wipe. That's pretty secure at this point, so I'm going to start decorating. I found these 2 little characters on a title page of one of the Strawberry Shortcake books, and the page was oriented such that it wouldn't make a good half-folded book page to go into the journal, so I went ahead and fussy cut them so that they would fit onto something. And I went ahead and prepped ahead of time and trimmed the file folder kind of a good size to be able to use both of those pieces. So it measures about 4 inches, and it's longer. I think I measured it around 6.5 inches long, because I have several of the journal covers that are more of a TN style, and they're longer rather than wider, so that will fit really well. So I'm going to go ahead and use my Scotch Creates and glue Huckleberry Pie on the one side. Trying to be careful not to get those little fiddly bits accidentally torn. And I want to make sure that it's actually far enough down so that the little grass, it looks like he's walking on it. So I went ahead and put that kind of where I wanted it, and then I knew where to place him. So go ahead and stick him down, and he fits just right. That was kind of a lucky little happenstance. Go ahead and use the use the Scotch Creates again to glue the grass down. And I think that turned out really adorable. It looks like he's running in the grass, playing. Now I have all these little flower bits that I got in my scrapbook days, and I wanted to use them for this particular ephemera project because I thought they just kind of fit really well. And so trying to decide which ones to use, and I decided on the little bumblebees just because I felt like they kind of matched with Huckleberry Pie, and they're kind of fun and whimsical. Sorry for the extra noise. My puppy is being very naughty right now. So go ahead and glue 2 of those little bees down. So it looks like they're kind of flitting about in the air. And tidy up the glue a little bit. And there's one side. So now we start with raspberry tart. So with her, I'm going to glue one piece of grass down first, and then place her. So I want to kind of give it a little bit of a three-dimensional feel on this one. So I'll go ahead and glue the back of that with my Scotch Creates and put it down. I want to make sure I place it just so, and then go ahead and get my glue stick down. My paper's getting a little sticky. I go ahead and decide where to place her, right in the middle. And now here, I take another piece of grass and I offset it just a little bit so that it kind of looks like her little toes are between the blades. Glue stick's getting a little funky. We'll go ahead and offset that and set it down. Now I have to decide how I want to decorate it. So I want to add the little tulips. Actually, I'm going to add 2 of the bigger tulips, and I'm using the art glitter glue for this one because it's got such fiddly little kind of corners and angles. Went ahead and cleaned up a little bit of the extra art glitter glue, and then tried to decide what other flowers. I considered doing the daisy, but I didn't like that it didn't have a stem. So I decided not to go with that, and went ahead and put another big tulip down. And then I have these little ones that lost the little heads of the tulips, but they were salvageable, so I decided to use those next to the big tulips. And it was a bit of a procedure trying to get them placed just right. But I was able to get it, and they looked adorable. So I went ahead, the second one was still hanging on, so I went ahead and glued the back and wiped a little excess off, stuck it down, went ahead and adjusted it. And there we have it. Little raspberry tart dancing in the flowers. So trim off the ends. And that took a while, but we have our first piece. I'll go over the top of a page. Opens up. We can journal inside. Set that aside and get started on our next piece. So we're going to do the paper bags. And kind of moved everything away. I decided to use some old vintage Christmas ribbon, strawberry shortcake ribbon, to do the inside of the hinge because I felt like the doily wasn't going to be strong enough. And I'm trying to contend with my cat right now. He wants attention. And he likes to get up on the desk while I'm doing things. There's not enough room for him and me. So go ahead and trim that ribbon. And decided which direction. It's kind of a two-directional ribbon, but I liked that side best because I wanted the little bunny rabbits kind of facing right side up. So we went ahead and just glued the paper bag instead of the ribbon. And then went ahead and placed the ribbon. Check the other side so I could make sure that it was straight. Press down, make sure it's all glued. And I repeated the opposite side. And again, I gave it about 1/8 of an inch. A gap between there. And then I went ahead and cleaned up my glue. Kind of cleaned up a little bit of glue that soaked through the ribbon. On both sides. Give it a good crease. And then I flipped it so that I could do the outside. Tried to straighten up the fold, make sure that the two sides were somewhat even, and then I scored it with my bone folder. This is also a very starched ribbon, so it held the fold pretty well. And then I decided I wanted to ink the doily just to give it some color and interest. So I started with my, let's see, what color did I use? I think that one is the raspberry distress ink. I usually have it sitting pretty handy right here on my desk, but it's a bit of a mess right now. So I went ahead and proceeded to just kind of sponge the color on. I had accidentally kind of ripped it when I was rubbing, but not enough to cause any major problems. Went ahead and popped the sponge off of that one and decided to add a little bit of green. So kind of layered, second layer was green right next to the pink. And just touched up a few spots that were kind of light. And I went ahead and finished up with the green. I noticed, like, I'm taking my time in this one, putting everything away. I'm not feeling super stressed. It's funny when I look back at these videos, I realize that I just let myself get distracted by all the minutia, and then I don't make the 30 minutes. So I go ahead and line up the folds. Line up the sides so I can fold it. So it's even on each side. And kind of get an idea of where to position it. And then start applying the art glitter glue. This part is really fiddly because all the little spots, you don't want it to catch on things, so you want to make sure it's got plenty of glue. But at the same time, it ends up being a lot of glue, so it squishes out of all the little spots here and there. But that's okay, just dabbing along. Went ahead and started getting the center. Go back to the sides again. And I was fighting with trying to be fast and trying to be, like, get enough sufficient amount of glue in there. So that slowed me down. So I went ahead and gently picked it up and folded it over. Pressed down. Got glue all over my fingers and my mat. It was kind of important not to let the mat get gluey because then it just messes up my next project. So I can kind of understand why I cleaned up that part, but yeah. So then I just went ahead and repeated on the other side. And this time I was not as precise, I would say. Just kind of hurried along. I noticed that the time was ticking along pretty quickly. Again, gotta be careful because you don't want to tear the doily. Sometimes that particular doily hadn't been dyed or anything, so the paper was still pretty delicate. So there's that. Opens up. Went ahead and trimmed the ends. Got off screen a little bit. And the bags weren't exactly the same size, so I went ahead and opened it up to trim it so that I didn't cut a hole in the longer bag. And then I repeated trimming on that side. And there we have it. Another little tuck spot, hinged piece. So now we go with the envelopes. This one I wanted to make sure that I had it in the correct orientation because I have a tendency to have little snafus, and I could easily have gotten those in the wrong direction. So I went ahead and did the inside hinge with that same gingham ribbon. And trimmed that. Measure twice, trim once, right? Set that aside. And then I went ahead and did the art glitter glue down the envelope. And you'll see here too, I gave it another about 1/8 of an inch gap. And I went ahead and just did both envelopes at the same time and then laid down the ribbon. Just cleaned up the glue a little bit with the wet wipe. And gave it, oh, that didn't work so well. So I went ahead and turned them over, lined them up again. Gave it a good press. And this time I folded it. Gave it a good fold, good press. Tidied up the work surface. Another reinforcement fold. And then it was ready to start working on the outside. Went ahead and used the bone folder once I had it folded right side out. Because, like I said, this particular ribbon was very starched, very stiff. So I went ahead and lined up the doily on the outside. And I think I was trying to decide if there was anything else I should do to decorate it, but I ended up just, actually I was thinking of like trying to hinge the outside because I wanted to give it a little more strength. So I decided on my little glittery washi tape ribbon. I went ahead and trimmed that, measured it and trimmed it. I'm trying to get the back off. You know how it is, trying to get the backs off of sticky stuff. So there that goes. And I went ahead and lined it up at the bottom. Not so successfully. Try it again. And there we had it. So that gave it a little bit more of a reinforced spine. And I was able to fold that down the middle. Give it a good press. Make sure that adhesive was nice and stuck down. And now I was ready to put on the doily. Went ahead and folded that down the middle. And in this case, I trimmed the doily because I didn't want to cover up the glitter. So I went ahead and just glued it on. Butted it right up against the glitter washi and then glued it on. I was being very, very precise and wasting a lot of time. Again, with the art glitter glue, I wasn't as precise with this one. I think I noticed the time was running by and I was like, oh my goodness, I'm almost out of time. So I went ahead and rushed through that as much as I rushed through anything anyways. Stuck it down, tidied it up, and flipped it over. Rinse, repeat. Got my glue tip stuck in the doily. And went ahead and stuck that side down. Got the glue picked up. And realized that something went wrong. I didn't have it quite positioned where I wanted it, so of course I ended up going over time. But that's okay. I keep saying it's a guideline, right? So pretty much done. Just had to trim the ends. And sorry about going off frame here. I was kind of trying to be very precise and got it right up next to my eyeballs. There we go. So there's our third piece. And stuff it full. That was close. About a minute over. Not bad. At this stage I was just fiddling. So we have our envelope hinged piece, our bag hinged piece. It has a little spot for tuck, to tuck things in. And just making sure that the glue wasn't sticking. And you can definitely journal on the inside or decorate it with a pocket. And then we have our over the page topper. You can journal on the inside. So there's our cute little hinged pieces. And just tidying up. Well, thanks for watching, everybody. Sorry about the sound snafu, but hopefully my narration was somewhat sufficient. Thanks for joining me. Have a crafty, wonderful day, and join me for the next one. And I want to say thank you for all the support I've gotten lately on these videos. It's been fun to do them, and next one is index cards. So I'll make sure to get the voiceover done for that one as well. And I'll upload that as soon as possible. Thanks for joining me. Have a happy crafty day, and God bless. Bye, everybody.